call came through at 2:11 a.m., sharp enough to rip me out of a dead sleep. Not a phone call, a radio transmission, static heavy, broken, panicked. "Anyone, copy, please." I rolled off my bunk and grabbed the handheld before my brain fully caught up. "Search and Rescue Unit 3, go ahead." There was breathing on the other end, fast, wet, like the person had been running. Then a voice, female, young. "We can't see the trail anymore," she said. "The trees, they don't look right." Swallowed half the sentence. "Ma'am, identify yourself," I said, already pulling on my jacket. "My name is Rachel Coleman. We're at—" Her words cracked. "We're at the place with the fallen cedar. The kids are cold." Kids. "How many of you?" I asked. A pause. "4. Me, my husband, and our 2 boys." The radio squealed. Something thudded in the background. Not thunder. Too close. Too heavy. "Rachel," I said, slower now. "Are you on the whole river trail?" "Yes," she said, "but it keeps looping. We walked straight for 20 minutes and ended up back at the same creek." That made my stomach tighten. The hoe doesn't loop like that. "Stay where you are," I told her. "We're mobilizing now. Can you see the sky?" "No," the trees are leaning." I frowned. "Leaning how?" She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice dropped. "Like they're listening." The transmission cut. Dead air. I tried again. "Rachel, come back." Nothing. At 2:19 a.m., the signal vanished completely. By 3:05 a.m., we were rolling. 2 SAR trucks, 1 county deputy, and me. I've been a volunteer search and rescue coordinator in Olympic National Forest for 8 years. I know panic. I know exaggeration. This didn't feel like either. The weather had turned wrong fast. Not a storm. Worse. Fog, thick and low, hugging the ground like it had weight. Our headlights didn't cut through it so much as disappear inside it. No wind, no insects, just the hum of the engine and the crunch of gravel under tires. We parked at the Hoe trailhead. Rachel's SUV was still there, engine cold, frost on the windshield. Inside, we found Christmas candy wrappers, a paper map, a child's knit glove on the floor. They hadn't planned to stay overnight. We split into teams. Radios checked, GPS synced. At 3:41 a.m., we entered the forest. That's when the woods started acting wrong. Sound didn't travel the way it should. A snapped branch echoed once, then stopped, like the air swallowed it. Our footsteps felt muted, even on dead leaves. My compass needle twitched every few seconds, never settling. "Probably interference," someone muttered, but no one sounded convinced. About half a mile in, we found the first sign. A boot. A men's hiking boot, size 11, sitting upright in the middle of the trail. Not tossed, not buried, placed. The laces were neatly tied. No scuff marks, no drag trail, no footprints around it, just untouched mud, smooth like it had never been stepped on. "Log it," I said, though my throat felt dry. 10 yards later, we found the second boot. Same thing, same placement, same untouched ground. The deputy crouched and ran a finger through the mud. "No sign of struggle," he said. "No sign of anything." I radioed base. We've got personal effects, no tracks. Proceeding. Back. Say again? Effects where? I checked my signal. Full bars. Base, you copy me? Nothing. Behind us, one of the volunteers swore softly. I turned. What? He pointed off trail. Between two massive spruce trees, maybe 30 feet in, something reflected our headlamps. A phone. Rachel's phone, face up on a mossy log. The screen was cracked, but still on. Recording. I picked it up with gloves and hit play. At first, just breathing. Then footsteps. Then a child crying. A man's voice, tight, controlled. Stay close. Don't wander. Rachel, I think we're being followed. A pause. Then movement. Not footsteps, more like pressure. Leaves shifting without being stepped on. The youngest boy. Mom, why are the trees moving? Rachel shushed him. The recording ended with a sound I still can't name. Not an animal, not human, like wood bending under stress. We marked the location and pushed deeper. The fog thickened. Visibility dropped to maybe 10 feet. My GPS pinged an error and shut off. One by one, radios started cutting in and out. Then we smelled it. Copper. Blood. On a fern near the creek, we found droplets, small, spaced evenly, leading downstream. Hope surged and died at the same time. Blood meant injury. Injury meant they were still alive. Or had been. We followed the trail for maybe 50 yards before it stopped. Abruptly. No smear, no pooling, just gone. One of the volunteers gagged. This isn't right. I was about to agree when my radio burst to life. Unit 3, do you hear knocking? I froze. Say again, I said. There's knocking, the voice repeated, from the trees. Before I could respond, another voice cut in, high, terrified. They're standing too close. Who is this? I demanded. Static screamed. Then silence. At 4:58 a.m. we found the campsite, or what was left of it. A collapsed tent, 2 sleeping bags neatly zipped, backpacks arranged in a row. Too neat. No food scattered, no signs of animals, no people. In the center of the clearing stood a single cedar tree, and nailed into its trunk, at eye level, were 4 missing persons posters. Fresh ink, their faces printed perfectly. Rachel, her husband, both boys. Date listed as 3 days from now. I stepped back, heart pounding. That's not possible, the deputy whispered. At the bottom of the posters, in block letters, someone had written, "Stay on the trail." Behind us, deep in the fog, something knocked. Once, twice, then closer. I've been asked, by supervisors, by cops, by people who only read the final report, why we didn't pull back immediately after finding those posters. The honest answer? Because by then, the forest wouldn't let us. The knocking stopped the moment we turned around. Not faded, not distant. Gone. The fog pressed tighter, like it had mass now. Our headlamps reflected back at us instead of cutting through. Depth disappeared. Everything felt flat, wrong, like we were standing inside a photograph. Everybody stay close, I ordered. No one wanders, no shortcuts. That's when the deputy's radio crackled. Not static. Breathing. Slow. Controlled. Then a voice we all recognized. Rachel Coleman. "Please," she said softly. "They don't like it when you group together." Every hair on my arm stood up. "That's impossible," the deputy whispered. "She'd have to be." "Dead?" Rachel finished on the radio. "No, not yet." I grabbed the mic. "Rachel, if this is some kind of echo or—" "I told you to stay on the trail," she said. "You didn't listen either." A child laughed. Too close. Right behind us. One of the volunteers spun around, screamed, and bolted into the fog. "No!" I shouted. Gone in 3 seconds. No footsteps. No crashing branches. Just silence. Then the knocking started again. This time, everywhere. Tree to tree. Wood on wood. A slow, patient rhythm. Like counting. We tried to retreat. I swear to God we did. But the trail shifted. Landmarks moved. Fallen logs we'd passed earlier were suddenly ahead of us again. The compass spun uselessly. GPS screens stayed black. The forest wasn't random. It was correcting us. At 5:26 a.m., we found the volunteer. What was left of him. His boots were placed neatly at the base of a fir tree, laces tied. Inside the boots, his feet, cleanly separated at the ankles. No blood trail, no signs of struggle. Pinned to the tree above them was a laminated map of the whole river trail. A red marker circled our current location. Someone had written, "You're warmer when you move." The deputy vomited. I forced myself to keep looking, because beneath the boots, pressed into the mud, were 4 sets of footprints. Barefoot. Adult. Adult. Child. Child. Facing us. That's when the lights came on. Not ours. Deep in the forest, between the trees, soft yellow glows appeared, one by one, like windows, cabins, too many, structures that weren't on any map. We heard voices, laughter, a radio playing Christmas music, warped, slowed, like the tape was melting. A sign stood at the edge of the clearing, hand-carved. "Welcome back." The deputy raised his weapon. "I'm calling this in." His radio burst into static, and then a calm male voice answered. "Sheriff's office," it said. "What's your emergency?" Relief nearly dropped me to my knees. "We have multiple missing persons, officer down, unknown structures." "Copy," the voice said. "Remain where you are. We see you." The lights in the cabins flicked off. Every single one. The fog rushed inward. Then hands came out of the trees, not grabbing, guiding, pressing us forward, toward the clearing. I don't remember everything that happened next. I remember smells, pine sap, old blood, cold metal. I remember seeing Rachel standing by one of the cabins. Her face looked fine, too fine. No frostbite, no fear. Her husband stood beside her, the boys between them, all barefoot, all smiling. "They said if we stayed," Rachel told me, we wouldn't feel the cold anymore. What did they take? I asked. She tilted her head. Our shadows, she said. You don't need them in the forest. I looked down. I didn't have one anymore. Neither did the deputy. Behind Rachel, shapes moved inside the cabin windows. Tall, thin, bending wrong, watching. Christmas is busy, Rachel continued. People wander, people get lost. Someone has to stay so the trail stays full. The deputy raised his gun. One of the boys looked at him and knocked. Just once. The sound hit like a hammer. The deputy dropped. Didn't fall. Folded, like his bones forgot their job. I ran. Not smart, not brave, pure animal panic. I don't remember the path, only the feeling of being chased without footsteps. The knocking followed me, closer, faster, then sudden light, headlights, real ones. I collapsed onto the road just beyond the trailhead. When I came to, it was daylight. State police, park rangers, EMTs. They said I'd been found screaming in the snow at 6:04 a.m. They said there were no cabins, no posters, no bodies. Official report concluded. Family likely succumbed to hypothermia. Volunteer death ruled accidental exposure. Hallucinations due to stress and cold. Case closed. Except they never explained why every tree near the campsite has nail holes. Why hikers still report knocking when they leave the trail. Or why every Christmas Eve the whole river trail is quietly closed for maintenance. I resigned from search and rescue. I don't go into forests anymore. And I never answer radios after midnight. Because sometimes, when it's cold enough, I hear a familiar voice through the static, asking me to help her boys warm their hands. The voicemail came in at 11:58 p.m. on December 23rd. It wasn't routed through 911 the normal way. It hit the Snohomish County Sheriff's system as a corrupted audio file, flagged, logged, and almost deleted automatically. Almost. The dispatcher who heard it later described the message using one word. Wrong. The file was only 46 seconds long. The first 10 seconds were just wind, hard, hollow gusts like they were moving through a tunnel. Then a man's voice came in, low and controlled, trying very hard not to sound afraid. My name is Daniel Reeves, the voice said. I'm on the Granite Falls Trail near the old logging spur. I think I'm lost. A pause. I've hiked this forest since I was 16, he continued. I don't get lost out here. Another pause, longer this time. If someone gets this, he said, quieter now, there's something wrong with the woods tonight. The message ended abruptly, cut off by a sharp clicking sound, like a recorder being dropped. Daniel Reeves was never seen again. Reeves wasn't inexperienced. That's what made the case different from the start. 32 years old, former Army infantry, survival training, local. He grew up less than 20 miles from Mount Baker, Snoqualmie National Forest, and logged hundreds of solo hikes over the years. His truck was found the next morning at the Granite Falls trailhead, parked cleanly between the lines. No skid marks, no damage, no sign of panic. Inside the cab, deputies found his wallet, his phone, powered off, a thermos, still warm, and a handheld digital audio recorder clipped to the dashboard. The recorder was powered on, recording. That alone should have been impossible. The timestamp showed 12:41 a.m., more than 40 minutes after the voicemail had been sent. Search and rescue mobilized by sunrise. Weather conditions were bad but not extreme. Light snow, heavy fog, temperatures hovering just below freezing. Dangerous, yes, but not fatal for someone with Reeves' experience and gear. They followed his boot prints from the trailhead for about 1.3 miles. Then the track stopped. Not faded, not scattered. Stopped. As if he'd stepped off the trail and vanished mid-stride. No sign of a fall. No sign of an animal. No broken brush. Just untouched snow beyond that point. One of the SAR volunteers later testified that it felt like the forest reset itself past that line. At 10:22 a.m., a deputy found something hanging from a low cedar branch about 30 feet off trail. The audio recorder. Still clipped. Still running. Red light blinking. When they pressed stop, the display showed 6 hours, 12 minutes of audio recorded. Daniel Reeves had never owned a recorder before that night. The first 2 hours of audio were unremarkable. Footsteps, breathing, occasional muttering about trail markers and fog. At 1:09 a.m., Reeves stopped walking. You could hear snow crunch beneath him as he turned in place. "Okay," he said into the recorder. "That's not right." Silence. Then, that tree wasn't there before. Investigators later confirmed the trail map showed no cedar growth in that section. Satellite images backed it up. The tree Reeves described, large, mature, did not exist on record. At 1:17 a.m., he laughed. Not a nervous laugh, a confused one. "I can hear my own footsteps," he said, "but I'm not moving." The audio picked up a second set of steps, perfectly synced. Too perfect. At 1:42 a.m., Reeves whispered, "There's someone behind the trees." Pause. "No, not someone." Followed, faster now. "I don't think it knows I stopped." For the next several minutes, the recorder captured nothing but wind and a faint rhythmic tapping sound. Analysts later described it as wood striking wood at irregular intervals. At 2:03 a.m., Reeves spoke again, barely audible. "I walked for an hour," he said. "I passed the same creek 4 times. Then, very quietly, the creek is flowing uphill." At dawn, search teams found the creek. The water was flowing normally, but along the bank, they found something else. Boot prints. Daniel's, leading out of the water, barefoot. The boots were discovered downstream, placed side by side on a rock, socks folded neatly inside. No signs of frostbite on the socks. No blood. Just absence. The final section of the recording begins at 3:31 a.m. Daniel's voice is calmer here, flat, resigned. "It keeps standing where I was a moment ago," he says. "When I turn around, it's gone. When I stop, It stops. Long pause. I don't think it wants me to run. There's a sound after that. Not footsteps, not wind. Something like weight shifting on wet leaves. Too slow, too deliberate. Then Reeves speaks one last time. If they find this, he says, tell my sister I stayed on the trail. A beat. That's the rule, right? The recording ends with the sound investigators still haven't officially identified. A low creak, like wood under tension. The official report lists Daniel Reeves' disappearance as probable exposure with misadventure. Case closed. But one detail was never included in the public file. When the recorder was cataloged, technicians noticed something strange. The last timestamp, after the final sound, didn't read 3:47 a.m. It read 3:47 a.m. Recording resumed for 12 seconds, with no sound at all. The 12 seconds of resumed recording were dismissed at first. Blank audio happens. Corruption. Device error. That was the official explanation. Unofficially, 3 technicians independently reported the same thing. Those 12 seconds felt wrong to listen to. Not silent. Empty. One technician removed his headphones halfway through and logged a note that later vanished from the system. It sounds like pressure without sound, like being watched through glass. The recorder was sealed into evidence at 4:18 p.m. and transferred to the ranger station at Darrington. That's when the trail markers started changing. At Granite Falls Ranger Station, Senior Ranger Mark Ellison reviewed the case. Ellison had 27 years in the Forest Service, former wildfire crew, not prone to imagination. At 6:03 p.m., he took body cam unit B-17 and drove to the trailhead to document signage and marker placement. The footage still exists. It's not public. Ellison begins recording at the trail entrance. Everything is normal. He narrates clearly. Granite Falls Trailhead. Marker post reads 0.0 miles. Weather stable. Visibility low due to fog. He walks the trail. At 0.6 miles, he stops. The marker reads 0.6 miles. He pans the camera. Then he exhales sharply. That's not right, he says. The next marker, clearly visible ahead, also reads 0.6 miles. Ellison steps closer. The wood looks older than the post he just passed. Darker, weathered, moss growing around the base. He checks his GPS. It reads 0.9 miles. He mutters something under his breath and keeps walking. At 1.3 miles, the location where Daniel Reeves' tracks ended, Ellison stops again. The marker there reads 0.0 miles. Ellison doesn't speak for a full 10 seconds. The body cam captures his breathing, slow, controlled, strained. Then he says, "Trail shouldn't reset." Behind him, something clicks. Not a twig, not a step. Wood on wood. Ellison turns. The trail behind him is different. Not blocked, not altered, just tighter. Trees closer together. Underbrush thicker. Light dimmer than it should be at that hour. He radios in. Station, this is Ellison. I've got inconsistent markers and static. Copy. Say again? Ellison tries again. No response. That's when the marker behind him changes. On camera. The numbers scrape against the wood, rearranging themselves. 0.0 to 0.1 to 0.0. Ellison steps back. Okay, he says quietly. That's enough. He turns to leave. The trail ahead curves slightly and ends. Not fades, ends. Trees grow directly across it. Trunks fuse together like they've been there for decades. Ellison exhales sharply. Then he freezes. There are footprints in the snow. Bare feet. Facing him. Not moving. The body cam tilts upward. Between the trees, something stands. Not fully visible. Too tall. Shoulders wrong. Limbs too straight. It doesn't approach. It waits. Ellison whispers, "You're not Daniel." The thing tilts its head. The body cam glitches. The footage jumps. Ellison is suddenly back at the trailhead, breathing hard. Marker reads 0.0 miles. His watch shows 8:41 p.m. 2 hours missing. The ranger station closed the trail the next morning. Official reason: unsafe winter conditions. Unofficially, 4 separate hikers reported the same thing within the week. Trails looping, markers repeating, familiar landmarks appearing where they shouldn't. One hiker, a woman from Everett, turned in her phone after claiming it recorded "someone walking when I stopped." The audio showed synchronized footsteps, exactly like Daniel Reeves. The sheriff's department reopened the case internally, not to search for Daniel, to understand why the forest kept correcting itself. A pattern emerged. Every disappearance followed the same rules. Solo hiker, fog or snow, trail familiarity, recording device active. Subject stops moving. When investigators mapped all known incidents, they overlapped. Same radius, same section of forest, same cedar growth anomalies, same reset point. The final report was never released, but one internal memo was leaked. It ends with a recommendation, signed by 3 agencies. Do not pursue further recovery operations beyond the Granite Loop zone. Subjects are not being taken. They are being replaced. Attached to the memo was a still image from Ellison's body cam. Enhanced, brightened. In the reflection of his visor, a man stands behind him. Barefoot. Recorder clipped to his jacket. Daniel Reeves. Facing the trail. Not leaving it. The Granite Falls Trail remains open today. Markers have been replaced 6 times. They never stay consistent. And if you hike there long enough, if you stop, you may hear footsteps matching yours, perfectly, waiting for you to move first.